Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Moy Style podcast. Today's episode is about not counting your kids out. And so, what I mean by this, um, well, it's I guess a bunch of different things. But I've been coaching again. I've said it before. I've coached youth baseball for a few years now, and I kind of seen a little bit of everything. I mean, I've coached anywhere from 10 to all the way until 16 years old, a little bit of college. And so I feel like I've seen just about every level so far. And I see how kids progressed. I see how some peak. I see how some go from, you know, not having a shot, and then all of a sudden we have this guy just becomes a beast. And so I really want you, parents and coaches. Well, this is just my what I think of it, but um, when it comes to youth baseball, right? You see a lot of kids, especially at the ages of 10, 11, 12 years old. You got those kids that somehow they hit puberty so much faster than the other kids, especially the ages of 11 and 12. And they're so much bigger, so much stronger at that age. And I feel like some parents can get discouraged. I'm like, well, my kid's not even anywhere close to that, or coaches too. And I feel like they almost determine their future. So they're like, well, I mean, my kid's not going to have a shot. And the kids are barely 10, 11, 12, like even younger. I mean, you got coaches that, will say, well, this guy will never play this position in his life, or girl, right? I mean, he's 9 or 10 or 11, 12. And I mean, you have no idea where these kids are going to be by the time they're 17, 18 years old. I mean, a lot can change. And that brings me to my next topic, that a lot of kids are not really developed yet, right? So at those ages, I mean, you don't really see kids that are, to me, I don't see kids that are really developed until they get to ages of 16 to 18. That's when you kind of start to see kind of where they're gonna be. Obviously, I'm not saying like don't do any type of work or don't do anything, let the kids be lazy or any of that stuff. That's not what I'm saying. But a lot of times at these young levels, like you have kids that are absolutely overpowering the other kids because again they might have hit puberty a lot faster, and you got kids that are 12 years old and they're throwing upper 60s, maybe low 70s. Some of them may be from good training, but some of them are just pure strength, which again, and it happens at different levels, which I think that's awesome, right? Obviously for their parents, but I just feel like if these kids don't work at it, I mean, at some point it's got to peak, at least without getting hurt or anything like that. Because a lot of times you see a lot of pitchers out there. I mean, they're throwing, they're bringing the heat, and it's they don't even know how to use their lower half. I mean, it's all upper body, it's all arm, just pure strength. Same thing happens with hitting. That's, I mean, these are the two place where you see the most hitting, where they're out in front on the front side on the front foot, and somehow they just smoke the ball in the gap or hitting balls out of the park. But as they get older, then those things start to peak out. Now, I'm not saying like everybody goes through the same thing, and the kids that were stronger before or overpower the other kids will never be able to succeed at the high school level or college level. That's not what I'm saying, but obviously, if they don't work at it, at some point it's gonna peak. So I'm saying this because I know some parents or coaches. I mean, they like to discourage the kids so soon, and they don't even know where they're gonna be when they fully develop. Another thing that I see when they're not fully developed yet, it's a lot of kids struggle with hitting with the dragging back elbow. That's one thing that I think I get the most from the parents. And like if you look on social media, that's one of the videos that gets the most hits, or the most views or whatever, likes or whatever it is, or shares, because it's such a common thing at the youth level. A lot of kids are not strong enough yet to be able to, like when they're hitting, right? Like a lot of times they're not strong enough yet, so they end up leading with the back elbow. Same thing happens when they throw. Their arms are not fully strong yet, and so that's why. Well, some of them part of it is because of mechanics, right? But a lot of them is because they're not. Again, they're not fully strong yet, so they're not able to, to throw as well as some of the other kids, and so they drag with the back elbow. They look like they're pushing the ball. So that's what I mean about the kids not being fully developed yet. Now, do they need to work on it? Yes, right. But I think it's just a matter of being a little bit patient because those things don't click so fast. For some kids, it may click, but for some, it just doesn't click as fast. It just takes time. Um, which that that brings me to the next topic, right? Which about getting stronger. I got my notes over here, so I stay in line. Um, I think kids at a young age, again, some kids, are very strong at a young age. They're overpowering the other kids, but I still believe they have to kind of build a foundation, and I think they need to be. What I mean by this, they need to start doing push-ups, doing sit-ups, all kinds of type of body exercises. Because no, I'm not saying you got to go out there and start lifting weights and go crazy, but I think that's the biggest foundation that we need to what we need to focus on the most when it comes to strength. Be able to continue to build up that foundation, continue to build the body up, and continue to do the if you guys that do bands out there, I do the bands with the kids on my team, and I always recommend them to the kids that I do lessons with because they're that important. Because at a young age, they don't see the this type of stuff, but when they get older, starts to actually matter. So again, you want to keep building that foundation, not so much worrying about. I'm sure your parents out there, you don't want your kids to fail every time, to go 0 for 20 every time or anything like that. But I would try to focus on more on are they getting stronger and are they really getting better, not necessarily looking at the stats or any of that stuff. That's kind of the way I look at it. Even though base hits, strikeouts, all that stuff is pretty important. But if we're looking at it in the long run, we gotta be able to uh, just keep building up the foundation. Um, so that's why I really recommend kids at least getting stronger doing push-ups, sit-ups. So when they get to start lifting, they gotta they're a lot more prepared. The next thing, um, a lot of kids are not as mature as some of the other kids. And so you got kids that are still, they might be 11, 12, 13, even 14 years old. They're still somewhat immature. I'm not saying it is okay for them to be immature, um, but sometimes when they finally mature, let's say they're 17 or 18, for some people you may think, well, that's too late. It's really not, but obviously you want to catch us. I mean, hopefully you want them to be as mature as early as possible. But um, a lot of things don't click as fast for some of the kids. For some kids, they're pretty mature, they're pretty sharp, and things just click pretty fast. For some of the other ones, they just takes a little bit longer. Um, and so again, it goes back to being a little bit patient with it, because at the young ages, they're learning the game, but they're not really, um, you know, I guess their baseball IQ is not all there yet. So you have to be a little bit patient with that. And then when they get older, when they get to be a sophomore, or junior, or even senior, sometimes it takes that long. Um, I feel like they start taking training a whole lot more serious. Again, if you can start doing it sooner, even better. But some kids it just doesn't click for some reason until a certain age. And I've seen kids that are real mature at a young age, but I've seen other ones that are real immature. Um, and um, and then when they got to 17, 16, 17, it's just like the flip. I mean, the switch is just they flip the switch, and they just I don't know, they got after. So it's kind of crazy how it works sometimes. So again, it goes back to being a little bit patient. So um, Now, when you guys, I'm sure a lot of parents take your kids to lessons, which I think is very important. But I think some kids need to take a break from lessons, um, and kind of go back to just having fun. But at the same time, if they're doing lessons, I think to me, I tell the parents the same thing. I don't like to blow smoke at anybody because lessons can be real expensive. Those one-on-one training and all that stuff. But if you see that the kids are making progress, even though like the hits are not there, the home runs are not there yet, or the velo may not be there yet, or whatever the case may be. If the kids are really making progress, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what really matters. I'm not saying that if this kid's 10, he's doing lessons with the same guy, and he's 20, 21 years old, and he's still in the same spot. That's probably not progress, right? But what I'm saying is, if you got a kid that struggles with confidence, and then at the end of the year, maybe the average is not where everybody wants it to be, but his confidence or her confidence is a whole lot better, then that to me is a win. And let's say that this kid couldn't feel the ground ball, he was afraid of the ball, and he didn't know how to feel different hops. At the end of the year, now he's a lot more confident with fielding short hops and all that good stuff. That to me again is a win. So I think it's just a lot of parents and coaches get a little they start rushing things, and I don't understand why. And I think I get it too because they want them to be successful and all that good stuff. Nobody wants to lose, but sometimes we forget to be patient, and we try to teach our kids to be patient, but we as adults we can't be patient ourselves. So it's kind of hard to for them to make any type of progress because we're looking at the other kids' stats. We're looking at the um, uh, where he is in the lineup or where she is in the lineup, what position he's playing or she's playing. Which that kind of brings me to another the next topic, which is I know a lot of kids want to play infield, and um, I think to me, I mean, if I'm looking at this kind of as an investment, I'm looking obviously long term. I don't want to just I don't want my kid to quit, after 1 year of trying. Like some of the kids are not ready to play infield yet, and I'm just saying infield because obviously that's what I post the most, a lot of infield videos. But this applies to anything: pitching, outfield, catching. But if your kid really wants to play infield, yes, it's pretty important to get reps in games, but I think what's more important it's going back to really training. Even if that kid doesn't play as much in that position, you don't want to let him quit or let her quit because you don't know where he or she are gonna end up, in 4 or 5 years. Maybe this will take 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years before it clicks. But when it does click, at least we've been building up that foundation. A lot of people are like, well, my kid's not playing, whatever position he wants to play. Let's say shortstop, which is what a lot of kids want to play. Well, my kid's not playing shortstop, so he'll never be a shortstop. So we don't need to be training for him to be an infielder. If the kid really loves fielding, but maybe he's not good at it yet. Because sometimes just because you love it doesn't mean that you're real good at it. I think just let him keep training. Stick with it. I've seen some of the kids that started with me a couple years ago, and they're probably not the strongest kids on the team yet. And I talk to them sometimes. I tell them, you gotta stick with it. Do not quit. Do not stop what you're doing right now because you've got such great fundamentals. It just you're not as strong as some of the other kids yet. But at some point, this stuff like for some of the other kids, like you see it a lot, 13 and under. They can get away with a lot of stuff fielding wise because they might be a little bit stronger or whatever the case may be, or they can get away with blocking the ball. And but at some point, this stuff will peak because when you get to high school, like a real good high school teams or real good high school competition or college, this stuff won't play out. This whole blocking the ball, all this stuff doesn't play out. Now, if they've been training for years and finally they get their shot, they've been working on short hops, long hops, all that good stuff, arm strength, arm slots, all that good stuff. I mean, he's gonna be so much more advanced than the other kids, and then finally it clicks because he's fully mature or she's fully mature. Yeah, she's fully developed or he's fully developed, and now things start to to click. Um, so going back to not trying to bounce back and forth, but going back to the whole lesson thing. If you guys are taking private lessons, that stuff is great. But I think sometimes you can keep doing your lessons, maybe take a break from it, and maybe go back to your coach again. Because I'm not saying that the coach, it's always the coach's problem. Maybe it may be. I'm not sure, but you can do your lessons, right? Do it for a few months, and then maybe take a break, and then come back again, and then try to see where you're at. Because I think, to me, that's where lessons become more beneficial. Not like, well, uh, I went 4 for 4 with a couple of bloopers here and there. Okay, that's awesome, right? But I mean, it's, are you getting better or are you just getting lucky? Because at that point, that's also gonna peak. So that, to me, that's where I would like for parents to kind of look at lessons. It's more of going back to what I said before, building up the foundation, and then just try to focus on the kids making small progress. Because at some point, these kids are obviously not going to be the same age every single year. So hopefully at some point this stuff will click. For some it will click, for some it won't. But if you're patient enough, I promise that this stuff will click. Now, the final thing I want to say here, it's for for parents and coaches. Just don't let the kids quit, because they will struggle. They will go through slumps. Um, but to me, what really matters is learning how to bounce back. Because you got some kids that they don't know what it's like to struggle, because they've been overpowering other kids, and then you got the ones that have been struggling for a while, and they don't know how to get out of it. And so a lot of kids end up just wanting to quit. So coaches and parents, just be a little patient, and then just keep encouraging them. I'm not saying baby these kids, but keep working at it, keep getting after. If they really stick with it long enough, obviously, this stuff is teaching them a lot of things, for just life period. But if they stick with it long enough, this stuff will eventually click. If not, then you're just getting frustrated with them, and you're just teaching them to be front runners. And when everything is going great, you're their biggest supporter. When everything is going wrong, and you want to hide behind the other parents, or the coaches, just throwing a fit out there, whatever the case may be. Just really be patient. Don't let them quit, and keep on working with them until eventually it quits. I mean, until eventually it clicks. Until eventually it clicks, and then at the end, to me, it'll be all worth it. So again, I try to bring up topics that I noticed, that I've seen the most. I mean, I've been around it. I mean, I've been around the game for a long time. I've been a baseball player. Now I'm a coach, and so I see all kinds of different things. And I'm just hoping that this message, I'm not saying that I know it all, I got it all figured out, but I'm hoping that this will help out somebody out there, a couple of coaches, a couple of parents. And so we can continue to keep these kids in the game, because the last thing we want is to turn this into a job and now they want to quit. So if you guys are watching this on YouTube, as always, please subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and remember, keep it Moy Style.
Hey guys, Moy Style Baseball here. If you're interested in having me come out to your city for a fielding camp or a hitting camp, or if you're in the Oklahoma area and you're looking for private lessons or group lessons, you can shoot me a text at 251-509-3815. You can also email me at moystyle33@gmail.com. Keep it Moy Style.